I come from an atheistic family and have never been to church or attended any religious services since I was a child. My parents believed that religion was a fiction and they preferred us to believe in science and rational thinking. I held the same view on this and never became interested in religion. At one point, my classmate was worried that he wouldn't be able to finish school successfully and prayed often that God would help him. I told him that it was useless to pray, that he could only get good grades if he put enough effort and time into it. However, when I was 24 years old, a strange thing happened. During that time, I began to experience persistent coughing symptoms. This cough was not only frequent but also long-lasting. Sometimes it was also accompanied by chest tightness and a sore throat. The sound of coughing was also very harsh. Sometimes, I would vomit when coughing. Although I have tried various treatments, I still cannot get relief from this coughing symptom. It not only made me feel very tired and uncomfortable, but also caused me to lose my sleep quality. I often woke up at night because of my cough. I decided to go to the hospital in order to relieve my coughing symptoms. After I finished my dinner, I felt that my cough was getting worse, so I rushed to the clinic I had been to before. The doctor told me that the cough medicine I was using before was temporarily gone. But it was possible to try a new cough medicine, which he said was more effective. After listening to the doctor's advice, I decided to give it a try. Next, the doctor performed a skin test on me. After waiting for a few minutes, the test came back positive. But a red spot appeared on my hand. I was a little nervous and confused, so I asked the doctor if such a reaction was normal. After thinking for a while, the doctor told me that this reaction was normal and did not pose a threat to my health. After hearing the doctor's explanation, I believed him and decided to try this new cough medicine. When I got home, I got ready to go to bed. After a while, I heard a shrill sound, like a train passing me by. The sound got louder and louder until I was completely engulfed in the noise. I felt like my eardrums were going to explode. Then I found myself falling into a pitch-black tunnel. There was darkness all around and I couldn't see anything. I tried to feel my way out, but the tunnel seemed to have no end, and I no longer knew which direction to go. I was getting scared and started to feel desperate. I was afraid of being trapped in this dark world forever. It was like I was being pulled forward by something. It was as if I was stuck in this dark space and couldn't break free. I began to think about what was happening to me. I remembered the cough medicine I had bought at the clinic earlier and that I was probably in the middle of an allergic reaction. I felt myself being pulled by invisible forces all the way forward through the dark tunnel. There was no sound or light around me, and this state made me feel very lonely and scared. I wanted to go back to bed, but there was no way to do so. I began to wonder if I was dead, but at the same time I felt alive. My mind was very clear and I wasn't completely gone. This contradictory feeling made me feel very confused. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in front of me. I moved in the direction of the light. The light became brighter and brighter and seemed to be guiding me. I had very mixed feelings, full of curiosity and uneasiness. I didn't know what was going to happen next, but I felt like this was my last chance. I reached the source of the bright light, which was a beautiful door of light. I heard some voices, but I could not understand their meaning. After entering that door, I felt myself become light, like a feather floating in the air. Any pain or discomfort I had disappeared, and instead I felt very comfortable. I can't describe in precise words what I experienced in that space, because it was beyond anything I could experience in reality. I don't know what that space was. But it made me feel unconditionally loved and accepted. An intense light suddenly appeared before my eyes, and out of it came a man. He was wearing a long white robe, which gave off a dazzling light. He had deep eyes and broad shoulders. The color of his skin looked very healthy. I noticed that he was wearing a sash around his waist, which seemed to have some kind of important symbolic meaning. He opened his arms to me, and I noticed a very obvious wound on his palm. I saw the same wound on his foot. I noticed a woman to his left. She was wearing a long blue robe. The hood of the robe covered her hair. I knew it was Jesus and Mary, and although I am not a Christian, I have seen their pictures everywhere in real life. There was still a big difference between their images and the real-life portraits. Their presence made me feel a strong sense of love. I cannot describe this feeling accurately in words, but the feeling was so real and beautiful. I walked over to them. I greeted them. "Hello, my friend," Jesus answered me gently, with eyes full of love. "I am not a Christian, but I know you are Jesus. Why did I meet you here?" He smiled and replied, "I have been with you all along, but you may not have realized it. I come to you to bring you peace and tranquility." I was a little confused, but at the same time I felt a wonderful sense of closeness. Jesus and I talked a lot there. I asked Jesus, "Why do we have different religious beliefs?" He replied, "Faith is just a form, and I am the embodiment of love and truth. I love you no matter what you believe in, and I want you to love others in the same way." I asked Jesus, "Why do so many people pray to him when they are in trouble?" I have met many people who have had a difficult life and prayed religiously, but their lives did not change at all. Jesus' eyes were tender and deep as he smiled and replied to me, "I am with you all the time, watching over you." Prayer is not meant to make life immediately better, but to enable you to find inner peace and the strength of faith. To give you the courage to face the difficulties and challenges of life. His words touched my heart deeply. I was silent for a moment. Then asked him, "If you are always there for us, why does so much pain and suffering still occur?" Jesus' eyes gazed at me, and he smiled and replied, "Those sufferings are not given by me, but are caused by human beings themselves. But I will always be with you to give you the strength and courage to overcome them." He went on to say, "I also want to take you to someone who is waiting for you in heaven." We arrived instantly at a beautiful garden. I saw an old man who looked very healthy and had a smile on his face. I recognized that it was my grandfather. I ran to his side and he hugged me gently. He told me how happy he was to see me again. He was also grateful that Jesus had brought me so that he could see me in person. My grandfather told me that he had been praying for me in heaven to live a happy and joyful life. Grandfather laughed and talked to me about something from my childhood. Grandfather said, "You were such a naughty boy when you were little. I still remember one time you were catching dragonflies in the garden and ended up accidentally knocking over many flower pots. At that time you tried to run away, but I caught you and told you to go back and clean up the flower beds. You always did things like that, and your heart was always full of curiosity." I felt a little ashamed when I heard these words. I admitted to him that I had indeed been naughty as a child, but now that I was a grown-up, I knew better how to make wise decisions and act. My grandfather looked at me and smiled. I felt endless love and warmth in my grandfather's company. I thanked Jesus for bringing me to see my grandfather. During my conversation with my grandfather, I not only felt his love and support, but also learned many valuable life lessons and wisdom from his words. He told me that if we maintain a positive attitude and strong faith, we can overcome any difficulties. My grandfather also told me that we should not focus only on our own needs and desires, but should spend more time with our families. Finally, Jesus said to me, "It's time to go back." I knew he was referring to going back to real life. Although I thought it was really great here, I also understood that I still had a lot of things I needed to do. I took a deep breath and then said goodbye to my grandfather. Before I left, my grandfather hugged me tightly and said to me, "I will always be here for you." I turned around and saw Jesus beside me, smiling at me. I felt calm and relaxed because I knew he would always be there for me. I nodded to Jesus and followed him out of my grandfather's garden. I turned my head and saw my grandfather waving at me from the garden. I smiled at him and then followed Jesus out. Jesus took me to my bedroom. He gently tapped me on the shoulder and I returned to my body. Finally, I felt my eyes begin to grow heavy. I closed my eyes and felt my body gradually sink into the soft mattress. With Jesus by my side, I went into a dream full of hope and beauty and did not wake up until early the next morning. I didn't blame the doctor. I know that without this medical error this experience would not have happened. I didn't tell anyone else about it either. After this experience, I had a new understanding of the meaning of life and the value of life. I began to seek a higher level of spirituality and spiritual guidance to help me better understand and face the challenges of life. In this process, through my study of the Bible, I was gradually drawn to the teachings and beliefs of Christianity. I saw it as a religious faith that could provide me with spiritual guidance and solace. After being baptized, I became a devout Christian. I began to attend church activities and meetings, actively study the Bible and pray. Under the guidance of my faith, I learned how to love, forgive and care for others. I felt the strength of my faith sustaining me and making me more determined to face the challenges and difficulties in my life. The faith and teachings of Christianity have also helped me understand the true meaning and value of life. I learned that everyone is God's creation and has his or her own mission and purpose, regardless of our background and status. We should all care for others and bring hope to them. Overall, after experiencing this incident, I became a devout Christian and faced the challenges and difficulties in my life through faith. Faith has made me value and appreciate life more and has made me a better person.